City manager reports.
Wendel Whisenhunt is here this morning to talk a little bit about the item that Councilman White brought up regarding Bicentennial Park. There was a city manager report, 3 or 4 weeks ago that outlined a action plan on how we were going to deal with the monuments, and we're executing that action plan and have some results today, and Wendel's here to update us on that.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Since the city manager report that you received on the 20th of March, there have been significant things happen, and we wanted to brief you on those things this morning. We have done so in the staff report, the city manager's report, but we'd like to give you a little more information. As you know, the contract has now been issued. The work has begun on the park construction. The monuments and art have been removed and are stored. And we have been about the business of taking recommendations from citizens and recommending groups, recommending bodies on where and how the monuments and art should be placed. The ASLA, the Society of Landscape Architects, had offered to coordinate a charrette on the placement of these pieces, and we were very interested in them doing that and accepted that offer right away. And a charrette was held on the 24th of March, a Saturday, and it was very enjoyable. We had a good attendance. We had 20 landscape architects there, several students, 3 members of the Oklahoma City Art Commission, as well as numerous city staff from both my department as well as the Public Works Department. The recommendations, which I'm going to be going over with you today from that charrette, have been presented to the Oklahoma City Art Commission, and they have recommended those, and we want to share those with you today. The groupings of the pieces at Bicentennial really group into 3 different areas. First would be the bicentennial monuments themselves. Second would be the monuments associated with the 3 statues. And third would be various and sundry plaques and monuments that may not be related to each other. And we'll talk about each of those areas. The recommendation of the charrette and the recommendation of that charrette having been accepted by the Art Commission is that the bicentennial monuments and all things associated with those monuments should be worked into the design and should remain at Bicentennial Park. I will mention that if you'll all remember, Mr. Woods came before you some time ago to speak about his concern that the monuments might be moved. I have spoken with him personally about the recommendations of the charrette and the acceptance of the recommendations by the Art Commission that the monuments stay there, and he was pleased about that. The other grouping of monuments are the statues. Of course, the statues are Wiley Post, Stanley Draper, and General Thomas P. Stafford. The Stanley Draper statue has been recommended to be placed on the City Hall lawn, west side of the building. The charrette and the members of the Art Commission felt that having the Stanley Draper monument at the seat of government would be very appropriate. So they've recommended the lawn on the west side of City Hall. I'll mention to you today as well, while it's not part of my presentation, the monument that Mr. White mentioned a few moments ago at the traffic circle near Old I-40. Mr. Clowers has been speaking with the Draper family about that. It is being dealt with. And there have also been discussions with the Draper family about the movement of the statue of Stanley Draper from Bicentennial to the west side of City Hall. The General Stafford's statue is proposed to be placed at Stars and Stripes Park in North Oklahoma City on Lake Hefner. I'm sure you're all probably familiar with Stars and Stripes Park, but it is our patriotic park. There are monuments there already to General President Eisenhower. There's a large flag plaza. It is our park of celebrating our country and our nation. As time would have it, We've also just finished a new playground there. Some of you will remember that years past there was a large playground with a very tall rocket ship. That rocket ship had to be removed some time ago. We've replaced that one rocket ship with two rocket ships, and it is proposed that the General Stafford statue would be placed north of those rocket ship pieces. And I have spoken with General Stafford myself, very nice gentleman. He thought this was a good idea. He was pleased with it. The Wally Post statue. Wally Post Park on South Robinson, just on the south side of the river, has been named after the flyer for many, many years. It was named Wally Post originally, as far as we can detect. It has never had anything that we can find other than the entry sign that associates itself with Wally Post. The recommendation is that the Wally Post statue be placed on the south side of the river, where you see the noted area on your slide. And we have already done some proposed design work for a project that will take place 4 to 5 years from now when we make a major renovation of Wally Post Park. As you can see here, staff is anticipating having a hangar which may have the plane from Mr. Post, the Winnie Mae, flying from it and the statue placed in front of it. That's our long-term plan. So the recommendation is that the Wally Post statue would be placed at Wally Post Park. We know that we can't wait 5 years, 4 years to place the Wally Post statue in the long-term project, so we have come up with a place that we could do a temporary placement, and you see that depicted as well. That placement could happen very soon. The other grouping of monuments and plaques is, as you see, many which may be unrelated to each other or may be related to one of the statues. The recommendation is that where possible, these plaques remain in Bicentennial Park, and most can in one of the newly created beds. Some of the plaques are related very much to a statue and would continue to be at the base of the statue where placed. There is a potential, of course, that if you look at the upper right-hand corner, it refers to a mighty oak. If there was not an oak in Bicentennial Park and there was on the grounds of City Hall, it might make better display to have it near a real oak tree. So we're considering that along with the consultant as well. So you'll see on the next slide here a number of the plaques that do relate to, for instance, the Wally Post statue and would be at the base of the Wally Post statue. And the next slide continues with some of the pieces that are very directly related and some that are not related at all to other things in Bicentennial Park. It is our plan to continue working with the consultant and have him work these recommendations into the design and come back before you at an appropriate time after going through the appropriate committees within the city's system. We think that these recommendations will be well received, and I'd like to try to answer any questions that you have.
Wendel, I had one comment.
Yes, sir.
A family member who went out to Stars and Stripes Park said it was so full of people on a Saturday that there weren't near enough benches for people to sit down.
Okay.
Like it was 10 to 1. People sitting on the ground to people wishing they had benches. You might just look and see. I know we can't. You can't always program for peak times, but it might be worth looking at.
We have seen that since we finished the playground there and the renovation of that park, that it has increased the usage dramatically. We'll look at the benches. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
So
Thank you all. Yes, sir.
When the park is completed, none of the statues will be in the Bicentennial Park.
That's the proposal, sir. One would be at Wally Post, one would be at Stars and Stripes, and one would be on the west lawn of City Hall.
Okay. I guess my next question then is, will there ever be an opportunity to have a statue placed in the Bicentennial Park?
Of course, that would be...
is this being designed to the point where...
That would be up to council's decision, and with upon advice from the Parks Commission and the Arts Commission at a future time. I don't think anything's precluded.
Yes,
Won't
sir,
the
that's-
statue of the maestro, the conductor, still be?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yes, sir.
That's not going to be moved anyplace else?
It is not.
Good, thank you.
Any discussions with the Court Shore Park Committee or thoughts about?
Thoughts about placing statues in Court Ashore?
Right.
No, sir. Long term, that could be done. We needed to come up with some areas where we could place the statues, the three, very quickly. And, you know, they could be moved later if council decided to do so, but we felt we needed to find a way to move them now.
Councilman Greenwell had some comments a couple of weeks ago about the possibility of having some recognition plaques for various notable Oklahomans or Oklahoma Cityans. And, you know, that could be done in Bicentennial Park. It could be done in the new Court Shore Park. There are options out there available.
As long as we don't put them too close together and make it look like a cemetery, I think.
See, everybody's a critic.
Wendell, thanks.
Thank you very much.